right? A lot better. So three of Crime Tales. Want to make sure everything is working here in order. Bear with me here 1 second. Crime Tales. Make sure everything is working here in order. Bear with me here 1 second. There we are. We're good to go. So, as we get a romantic thing here. So, Crime Tales, what it is kind of my way of um, telling stories, true crime, that I otherwise would not be able to, get to because I don't see myself getting to St. Louis, which is where we're going today. And I do invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I do true crime. I also do a lot of famous graves, pop culture places, roadside attractions. I have a lot recorded. A lot will be coming your way. Thumbs up, yeah. Anyway, and before I tell you this story, not a story for the faint of heart. So this might not be for you. The other videos that I have on this channel, plentiful. So please do take a look at that. Some of the details in this case are very, very disturbing, and I just want to give you a brief overview. We go to St. Louis, and this stalker, the killer, he stalked the desperate. He had picked up prostitutes, frantic to sell their bodies for, a hit of a crack. Women that were willing to get in any car for the promise of just $20. They're down on the luck. They're really desperate, habits to support. Very dire situation. And he drove them away from there, from the street corners there, away from any witnesses. He made sure that there would be no witnesses to be found. And then he bound them. He tortured them. He murdered them. And he tossed their bodies like litter into roadside shrubs. Alicia Greenwade, she was killed this way. Teresa Wilson, Betty James, Verona Thompson, Yvonne Cruz, Brenda Beasley, and 4 other women as well. And the bodies, they started turning up one by one, starting in April of 2001. And it was obvious to authorities, or at least they suspected, that a serial killer was on the prowl. But the leads were scarce until an individual, a reporter, or rather a paper, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, they ran the story about one of the victims. Now, she was a sympathetic individual, and the paper was able to paint a sympathetic portrait story of Teresa Wilson's bruised life. And within days of that being published, reporter Bill Smith, he got an odd looking envelope in the mail. The American flag, its stamp, was affixed neatly, but it was upside down, however. The return address, it cited a website that was, upon further investigation by police, it was devoted to a naked woman in chains. Inside, under a bizarre graphic of flowers, rakes, and a beehive, the reporter, he found a chilling note typed in red. And it went like this. Nice sob story. It read, I'll tell you where many others are. And then, to prove I'm real, here's directions to number 17. That's right, he said 17. A second sheet of paper contained a map of nearby West Alton, Illinois, marked with an X. So what did the police do? They went to the spot marked by the X. Pushing aside the weeds, they found the skeleton. A woman's corpse that was long since decomposed. This was finally considered a break. And, with this, the authorities, 1 minute, thought that they had their man. And the next minute, they were left empty handed and wondering just how many other bodies might be there among the roadside. So, to solve this mystery, the first step was to track down the source of the West Alton map. So, surfing through travel sites on the web, the Illinois State Police, they quickly discovered that it had been downloaded from Expedia.com, the map. Little homework, little investigation, downloaded Expedia.com. Now, such online browsing, it's easily traceable because each time a computer user connects to the internet, he is assigned kind of like a unique number known as an IP address. Now, each site that the person surfs or he goes on to visits, whatever that page may be, each page that he looks at, each page that we look at on the internet, it's recorded in an activity log linked to that number, to his IP address. Now, a lot of people think that their browsing online is anonymous, but all types of people are watching. Some websites, they delete the IP addresses of their online visitors within minutes, right? Others, they retain activity logs much longer. Now, in this case, in response to federal subpoena, Expedia.com was able to pull up an IP address of every user who had looked at a West Alton map in recent days. You know what happened? It turned out that there was only one. IP address 65.227.106.78. The user that was assigned to that number had clicked to zoom in on West Alton 10 times until the map on his screen looked like exactly like the version that was sent to the Post-Dispatch newspaper. Now the FBI at that point, they had subpoenaed the internet service provider that had assigned that particular IP address. Some providers delete address information promptly, but Microsoft Corp was able to match that IP address to a specific user. And this user was based in St. Louis County, a user by the name of MSN slash Maury Travis. On June 7th, the FBI searched the home of Maury Troy Travis, 36-year-old waiter, and he had a history of armed robbery and drug use. Now, they had found what appeared to be blood spatters throughout Maury Travis's suburban home. So cops are coming, investigate this, find where this IP address is coming from, find the home. They visit the home, and they're seeing blood splatter throughout the home. In a locked file cabinet, they found several belts and ligatures, also apparently smeared with blood. Travis was charged with 2 federal kidnapping counts for allegedly taking victims by the name of Greenwade and James across the state lines. Authorities also said that they suspected him in the murders of 6 prostitutes and 4 unidentified women whose bodies have been discovered in the St. Louis area from April 2001 through May of 2002. At that point, they still had planned additional charges when when they paid visit to the Travis house. They weren't done, but the grim investigation, it's still had another, one last final twist. They found that the inmate, or the one accused of, these stalking, these, crimes and unspeakableness, he had hanged himself in jail, even as he was under suicide watch. Now, finding a spot in his cell that the monitor posted outside could not see, so, he managed to go outside of camera view. He managed to thread a noose that was made from a sheet through the tiny holes of a mesh vent above his toilet. He then stuffed toilet paper in his nostrils, put a gag in his mouth, and pulled a pillowcase over his head. Somehow, authorities said he must have drawn on his skill with, with his bondage. He managed to tie his own hands behind his back. So he went through a lot of effort to hang himself. Then he put the noose around his neck and he jumped off the toilet. Now, Travis, he did leave a suicide note declaring that he would rather kill himself than face execution or life in prison. True definition of a coward. True definition of a coward. When you hear this story of Maury Travis, you have got to remember that once you lose all sense of, you know, caring, it's a point of no return. Um, just bad, just bad. And he took the coward, the coward way out. He was known as the videotape killer. He was also known as the streetwalker strangler. So just to put things in perspective, he was just a maniac. He had chambers and he would videotape his crime. He was known as the videotape killer. And took the coward way out. Took the coward way out. And he had lived with a woman, right? And she did not know what was going on at all. Had no idea. No, just oblivious as to what was going on in her own uh, bedroom, its own bedroom. I leave you on this Sunday night. Just remember all the victims of this individual. There was a story that was ran recently that finally the lady that has now living in that house was finally able to break that lease because she just found out the history of this individual, and it wasn't the greatest. So luckily, she was able to break her lease after she found out the history of the house and was able to move on and go on her way. But that was the case of the videotape killer, the streetwalker stranger, as she was also called. Do subscribe, guys. I do have more videos coming. This one was a little bit shorter, but it was kind of, I think I provided you with quick and to the point kind of facts and details. So I hope all is well, and I look forward to speaking to you guys very, very